This video went viral, but it's not unique. Incidents like this can be found in every corner of America, from major cities to small towns. Punitive discipline creates a disproportionate criminalization of Black girls and disrupts one of the most important factors in their lives: education. I would like for schools to become locations for healing so that they can become locations for learning.
Pushout, the criminalization of Black girls in schools, is made possible by the Novo Foundation, the Ford Foundation Just Films, and the Meadow Fund. Additional support by the following.
Below collaboration, no put downs, kindness, participation.
I like being a Black girl because women stood up for my rights and stood up for me to be able to go to school and to talk and speak my mind.
The right to be Black, and you got the right to be a female. So you gotta believe in yourself. If no one else believes in you, you better be your biggest fan.
Now, I love being Black, but before, I felt like lighter-skinned Black girls were everything. Like, girls with long curly hair was everything. Girls with tiny lips was everything. Now, I'm trying to learn how to embrace myself, how to embrace my beauty.
I've never been like ashamed of me being a Black girl. Like that was the fate. Like I wouldn't pick no other color. This is what I was born with and I'm happy with it.
Don't let nobody define you. You define yourself. That's it. Just do what you do. Just be you. Be beautiful and smart. And that's all it is.
What you see in your eyes is not all that we are. Can't just come up to a Black girl and think of them a certain way. It's something a lot more deeper, more grounded, more rooted in us as Black girls than just us being ghetto or us looking and acting a certain way. What's crazy is that there are 300 girls in this school. Good majority of girls here are Black, and they go through a lot. And I know they go through a lot because they're Black. They live in America. They go through these things. So what I would do is I would give them the guidelines, how to be confident, how to be successful, how to be your own person and speak out for yourself. And I think that's really needed.
If educators would have been waiting for me, I'm sure I wouldn't have had to cycle in and out of prison for 20 years before I found help. I would have had what we all look for, an opportunity to be a better person. We as a nation, we as a community, we as educators, I think it's our responsibility to actually provide opportunity for those girls who have been pushed out, who have been left out, who have been kicked out.
Educating Black girls has long been a part of the freedom narrative in this country, as girls with an education become women who lead and teach. For many Black Americans, teaching was one of the first non-domestic and non-agricultural occupations available to them during the 19th century. It was noble to participate in the fight for a quality education. To read was to interpret and be recognized as a thinking human being. And the teacher, the purveyor of those skills, was a critical link to that achievement. Between 1890 and 1910, the number of Black teachers rose from just over 15,000 to well over 60,000. This growth continued until, as an undesired consequence of desegregation, Black teachers and administrators were dislocated as Black schools closed and they were denied opportunities to work in other public schools. New opportunities for educated African Americans meant many more were selecting careers beyond the educational sector. African American teachers, scores of whom insisted on fundamental changes to the curriculum, have always been underrepresented in our public schools. Today, that continues. There are now almost 4 million teachers in our nation's schools, but only 7% are African American, where 16% of the girls in public schools are Black. This decline in Black teachers, amid the increasing resegregation of public schools, hinders educational equity.
As a nation, talking about the school-to-prison pipeline for Black boys and Latino boys, but absent of that conversation was how girls of color and Black girls in particular were being impacted.
It's quite amazing when you participate in conversation about girls, and girls of color in particular, and you watch the conversation drift slowly toward boys. It is difficult for this country to focus on girls of color, and that's what needs to happen.
What that then did was send the message that what's happening to girls isn't necessarily a crisis.
But it is a crisis.
I'm gonna pass out the Bill of Rights in its actual language. I want you to figure out what rights are guaranteed to us, but then also what do we as citizens have to do to ensure this?
This means the work of loving and educating Black girls is now a shared responsibility.
Kashmir, what'd you come up with? What'd you guys get that's not up here yet?
And should be a national priority.
In the 6th Amendment, it said that they had fair and speedy trials.
I've asked girls if they felt that teachers were afraid of them. And some girls will say yes, their teachers are afraid of them. And then they laugh because, you know, for the most part, they understand that that's a dynamic that has been constructed for them, not a reality. Why would an adult be afraid of a child?
My teacher got super duper mad and dragged me by the chair, yelled at the other kids to move as she was dragging me to get out her way, and dragged me all the way outside.
Somaya, who has twin older sisters, was 7 when a typical second-grade argument with another student so enraged her teacher that she dragged Somaya from the classroom and left her to sit outside. That wasn't the first time Somaya, who at her previous school had been a star student, was singled out for punishment by her teacher.
In my second grade class, like the slightest bit of me doing something wrong, like a normal 7-year-old would do, like getting up or unaccidentally speaking without being called on, that would just result to me getting into big trouble, and that was just... I knew she was going to call my parents home, and I felt like that was just it. There was nothing I could do because my parents didn't believe me at home.
She would come home and feel like the teacher, she would say, the teacher's just not nice. She doesn't like me, Mom. And then the teacher was calling me saying, Somaya's having this problem and that problem. And it just didn't make sense from the child that she was before, other than initially, she's having an adjustment problem. And I really, unfortunately, looked to Somaya and not to the teacher. I trusted the teacher.
We had a blind trust, you know, like most parents do, because you can't imagine that a teacher would punish a child.
No, let's call it what it is, bully a child.
So she took the other kids to recess. I'm still sitting there. She came back and walked right past me without saying anything to me. And I was sitting there for about 10 minutes before I just had enough. I walked onto the main street. It led into a freeway that was over another freeway. There was a ramp, and I looked down, and I thought to myself, like, everything could be so much easier if I just jumped off. Like, nobody cared for me. Nobody loved me. Why not just go to heaven now? I didn't want to be here. Nobody understood. Nobody was there.
I didn't realize how much she was suffering. She didn't feel like we were supporting her. She didn't feel supported by her teacher.
I walked into Walmart, but they said that I was too young and I didn't have a parent. So they just told me to go outside and just left me there.
And so now she's back outside by herself again. She walks across the parking lot to a restaurant and asks them for a cup of water. They think it looks a little odd that she's kind of in their little parking lot area. They call the police and say, hey, there's a young kid here. So I'm thankful that they did do that. The police say, well, what age do you think she is? We heard the recordings. African-American girl, about 12 years old. And the police say, well, does she look upset? And they said that she didn't say she was upset. And they said, well, then she's fine. And my thing is, I don't care if she's 7 or 12, why is it okay for her to be alone, walking the streets in the middle of the day? Why aren't you coming to intervene? And had they come to intervene, it wouldn't have been 2 hours later before we found her.
I thought I was gone for like 30 minutes. And so I just thought, let me go back to school, because when my dad picks me up, I'm not gonna be in more trouble than I already was. And also what made me decide to go back is the fact that I knew I was only 7, and I knew I was not gonna be able to take care of myself because I had no phone, no money, nothing.
And I get a call about 11:15 from the secretary at the school. And she says, we are calling you because we don't know where Somaya is. And we wanted to know if she was at home. And I said, wait a minute, when was the last time you saw Somaya? She said, 9 o'clock. At this point, I'm rushing out the door to the school, and I said, well, have you called the police? And they said, we're calling them now. I'm flying up and down the street, and we just driving everywhere, and I'm just like, man, I'm determined. I do not want this to turn out the way that it could turn out. And then one of the twins saw her, and she said, there she is. She jumped out the car before I could even stop.
We just went home, And from what I remember, my mom was there, and she was just hugging me and just loving me. But it was really confusing because I felt like she hadn't showed me that before.
She wasn't happy that we found her. That was not her goal. I took her to the doctor to have an assessment done because my child is saying she wants to die. So that became our new life. That became our family. Building her back up and doing the therapy and finding a new school and trying to make her build trust again.
Thank the Lord that I kept on walking, because I wouldn't be here today to tell my story and possibly help others.
Oh my God, child.
After a lot of years of therapy and a lot of years of just having my parents just show me that they love me and just love. I'm doing great. Like, I look forward to school. I look forward to hanging out with my friends. And for the outside world, how I'm doing in there, pretty great.
These young women, they are pushing up against racism, sexism, classism, homophobia, xenophobia. It's imperative that Black girls see themselves in the curriculum. We need Black women teachers, we need Black women support staff, and we need Black women who are in leadership roles in the schools.
For us, it's really important to educate young people about some of the practices that come from our people, our histories, our ancestry. And educating young people about practices that come from our ancestry is very empowering for them. Very, very empowering for them and very healing.
Woman of the Week, Alice Walker. No person is your friend who demands your silence or denies your right to grow.
We focus on Black girls because it is equitable and fair. And we focus on Black girls because the interests of the whole community are part of what calls us to action. So the idea that, we wouldn't focus on Black girls, I always wonder, where did that come from? When did we get to a point where, in talking about racial justice, for example, it was okay to talk about racial justice for 50% of the population?
So we're taking a trip to the Smithsonian so we can research people of African ancestry. So we got to work on our research, right?
They want to be in spaces where they have the ability to be girls and to be in that developmental process.
And the word of the week is condone. Condone.
The misunderstanding of Black girlhood that then leads to the overpunishment, that leads to the chronic absenteeism, that leads to the suspension.
You don't support them.
Say it.
You don't support them?
And so they talked about overpunishment. So what does overpunishment look like? Overpunishment looks like for them that they're in a setting and you don't understand Black girlhood, meaning you don't understand all the things I had to do just to get to school.
As a Black girl, if you're the oldest, you might be taking care of younger siblings, you might be doing laundry, you might be cooking, you might have to get everyone else ready for school before you even go to school yourself. And if you're late, teachers and the judiciary, they need to understand this child might be late because of what's going on in her home and additional responsibilities. They can't really put themselves in that place if you've never been a Black girl.
All the stuff that's happening is so much weight that we're carrying, but we carry it.
It's been a fight to break us that hasn't been able to be broken. I think because our resilience is our gift and our curse.
So we're going to start, but we know that this is, like we said last night, a lot of you don't know each other. Maybe it's the first time you got on a plane, you've never been to Oregon, who knows what about Oregon. And so we want you to feel comfortable here, we want you to feel safe here. Well, I think in our work with education and juvenile justice and child welfare specific to Black girls, I think there is a social dynamic that we don't talk about in terms of implicit bias. Unaware of the ways in which the sort of triggers that you carry around that are fed to you by the media and society about what Black girls are like, and frankly, what girls are like, good girls and bad girls. I think the good girl, bad girl phenomena is incredibly powerful, not only for the girls, but for all of us in society. It's really based on, a historic sort of puritanical view of who's good and who's bad, and who's good are white girls who don't have sex. Who are middle class. And so the farther you are away from that definition of a good girl, the more tilted the perception of who you are and what you do, even if you're just sitting in a chair, you're gonna be perceived differently.
They say we're never gonna make it. They say my life is not a success. They say we're too young to understand love. They say you can't do it.
Our communities are holistic entities. We all share racial vulnerabilities. They sometimes play out differently across gender. What they experience as girls has everything to do with how the rest of their lives unfold.
Tell me what trauma is. What does it mean to you? Kind of sticks right here, right? In your heart and in your head. It's hard to get past. It hurts. It's
hard
painful.
to talk about.
It's very hard to talk about. And you react to it, right? You try the best you can to cope with it. But if you don't have resources, everyone has an ACE score. It may be high, it may be 0, it may be 10, but everyone has one. We've seen at least 13 generations of families cycle through this. With girls and young women, the ACE scores is a revelation. It is for them the proof that they are not bad, they are not stupid, they are not wrong. They're the product of all the things that came before them.
A lot of times people, they see me and they're like, oh, that's Dr. Morris, and not know that I live with a pretty high ACE score. People don't expect for me to say that because I present a certain way. People don't know my story, just like people don't know your story. And I think it's important to also acknowledge some of the things that we've inherited in this society. So like you, first I was real angry with some adults who created some spaces that were unhealthy for me. And then I realized that there's a lot in historical trauma, there's a lot in the narrative and the conditions of this society that we were born into that even go beyond the ACEs, that inform how the ACEs shape in our lives, that is important for us to know in order for us to heal.
I used to fight a lot. I used to have a big anger problem that would get the best of me, so I calmed down. I learned to manage my anger.
The most common question that we get from educators and social workers is but don't all kids go through this? Don't all kids? And I'm like, absolutely. But we get to keep talking about the layers. It's not about all kids going through something. All kids aren't treated the same when they go through it. That's the work that I do comes in and say, let's analyze how you're treating the same behaviors.
Interestingly enough, Black girls are actually being pushed out of classrooms and being pushed out of schools simply because of insubordination. Okay, so we look at the data, insubordination. Now, insubordination from a cultural perspective can be very interesting. So what I might be able to tolerate, that white middle class teacher may not be able to tolerate. So,
And the reason that you guys are in this room is not because your lives are all together. It's because you're people who have been through things and you have a story to tell and you've been on a journey.
Just because I have a frown on my face does not mean I'm being disrespectful. Sometimes the frown on my face means I went through a lot to be here. And people need to understand that sometimes we don't hide our expressions well. When we're happy, we're happy. When we're not, we're not. And that doesn't mean I'm not paying attention in class. That doesn't mean that I'm not respecting you as the teacher.
One of my mentors used to tell me, if you're not here for students, you're in the wrong place. I want children to come out of school saying, that was a great day. I love being there. I love going to school. I want to go to school. Children want to learn. And so why aren't we providing the conditions for them to learn? Are we asking too much? As my granny would say, honey, please.
And so he called to me to help pull down the gallows tree. And I went out with right good hope to the hangman's tree and the hangman's rope.
All right, ladies. What is the theme of this poem?
That was deep. Okay. The previous school that I was at, what they would do if you did something that was worthy of suspension, they'd usually put you in alternative detention that doesn't take place in your school. Most students that were sent there were sent because they had a fight, or they were sent because they were doing like illegal things. First time I went, I was like, why am I here? I don't belong here. Wait, I'm with all these children. I don't know who you are. Please don't touch me.
What we learn, Emma?
We compared the hangman to like enforcement of the government and the townspeople to us.
Like most middle school students, Emma has grappled with bullying. But at the Columbus City Preparatory School for Girls, a public school with admission by lottery, she was able to confront the bullying and interrupt what could have further isolated her from her learning and her healing.
When I was in 7th grade, it was just a normal music class for me. There were a group of girls. They start like pointing to each other, and I didn't know what was going on because I was just doing my work. And then one of them pointed to me and said, don't talk to her because she has roaches. And so I turned around and I'm trying to figure out like who said that, why are they saying this about me? They don't know if I actually have them. They've never been to my household before. They've never seen my parents, barely even know me as a person. I really wondered a lot, like, why would they treat me like this? What's wrong with me?
She was so sick of
There must be something wrong with me, which really put me into a deep episode of depression. I'd even start like blocking out my parents. I wouldn't talk to them as much. I'd stay in my room a lot more. Like, my grades started to drop.
I saw 2 things.
It started to turn around for me when I went to summer school that year. I met this girl, her name was Ashan, and she showed me that I don't really have to be so closed like that. We spent a lot of time with each other, and I'm really thankful for her. It showed me that not everyone's out to get me, you know? Like, not everyone's trying to hurt me. Not everyone wants to talk about me.
Hi, my name is Alice. I'm from the asylum just down the street.
I feel like it was like a God-given gift. Like, he was showing me, like, you don't have to be so closed. You don't have to be so defensive of yourself. Okay. It gave me a sense of confidence, and it actually made me a social butterfly. Like, I have so many friends now, and I'm continuing to make friends, and it makes me really happy.
Are black girls, just because you think they're supposed to be stronger and all that stuff, they're still girls. And just because she stands taller than you, she's still not a woman. She's a that's 13, 14-year-old girl. She's still a child. And like, we need to keep having educators see children.
I want to underline, bold, and highlight, this is not the trauma Olympics. Whatever you've gone through, it is enough. It matters.
Black girls are statistically going through puberty at earlier ages. And when those changes happen, they not only create these new challenges in terms of emotions and physical changes, but having adults react to you differently, treat you differently, make assumptions about where you are developmentally creates a whole other level of change and challenges. To adultify Black girls creates a different dynamic interacting with children, but they're children.
Is that the caged bird? Have you read I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings? You know, the caged bird reference comes from a poem by Paul Laurence Dunbar that is about oppression and about freeing oppression. So I love that you are including that here. It's really powerful.
For boys, it tends to look like them being perceived as more dangerous at earlier ages in life and being received as older than they are. For girls, it tends to look like them being sexualized at earlier ages. It tends to be them being perceived as caregivers at an earlier age. There tends to come along with that the assumption that they are in greater control of their behaviors or that they should be, right? If they don't know how they should act, we think they should know. If a child is laughing in a place where we think that's not appropriate, we say they should know better than that, rather than listen to that laugh, that's joy.
I am here today to acknowledge and represent the African American girls whose stories don't make the front page of every national newspaper.
This is such a remarkable time for young people to start thinking about the world in a different way, thinking about themselves, to be very sensitive to how to contribute, how to be admired, how to get respect. And the positive side of that is intensified just like the negative side. This intensity, intense sensitivity to being disrespected or someone trying to control you when you're that age, we all would react with a little bit of righteous indignation of people trying to control us, to tell us what we should do. But that's amplified further during this developmental window.
Today we see how Black girls are fighting their space and fighting for space. And unfortunately, more harm is being created because they're trying to figure out how I can be of importance in this world. And oftentimes this ways they can be harmed because they're gonna try to look to create capital for somebody and themselves.
Focus right here. One time through, 3 solos, one more time through.
Yes, I've been suspended a lot. I guess a girl said something to me and started messing with me, picking on me, and I got tired of it, and I just hit her. And I apologized because I felt bad. It's just like, I didn't know what to do. It was like so much rage building up to me.
Ariana has been suspended from various schools multiple times since the 1st grade.
1, 2, ready, and...
At the Columbus City Preparatory School for Girls, Ariana was on solid academic footing until her 7th grade year when she was faced with a series of traumatic events.
Sometimes people would say stuff to me just because I don't look the way they look, I don't sound the way they sound, and I don't dress the way they dress. And it's like, okay, I didn't get the memo, but still, you can't do that to me. The things I see here and outside of school is the same. People are fighting. People are getting bullied still. It's just some people go more through things than y'all even know, and y'all don't even take the time out to see what's going on. Y'all just judge them just because of the way they present themselves, and I don't think it's fair.
All right, so ladies, today we're going to talk about our student measurable progress. So we want to look at specific students and see where they were 1st quarter, and now that we're embarking on 4th quarter, to see what changes we have made. I think that Principals, have to build a relationship with parents because you have parents who are in survival mode.
There was that incident in class where a student pulled a seat out from under her.
And so sometimes when you see the behaviors of the students and the stress of the students and you talk to the parents, it's an ingrained stress. And so they're feeling the stress of the household, they're feeling the stress for their parent. They're torn between what they feel they need to do versus what they can do.
I remember I called you and you talked her down because she said that she felt most comfortable by you.
They don't want to, place blame on a parent, and you don't want the parent to feel guilty or to feel inadequate when they're giving all they can give.
Do we always embody that though? Do we always...
My grandma, my mom, my teachers, all of them, they've been helpful for me because I went through a lot. My dad died and the teachers came to my dad's funeral and they hugged me, told me everything was gonna be all right. And they always supported me. Then my house caught on fire. The teachers and the students here donated clothes, shoes, and everything for me. They lifted me up. They made me who I am today.
Depression doesn't always mean that I'm crying in a corner. Sometimes it means I'm mad, right? I have rage and I have the right to be angry. And sometimes I may misplace that anger. Sometimes I may put that anger on things that aren't really at the root of what that anger is. And instead of seeking to understand and instead of loving accountability, we end up going the route of punitive measures. And they don't have anyone to advocate for them because they're on the margins of the margins of the margins. People are not thinking about these girls.
Oftentimes, I'm gonna say what they don't see is they just refuse to see Black girls as being somebody able to be harmed. When we think about people being harmed, there's an image, there's this fragile thing, right? So I often think there's a size to it, there's a color to it, there's a speech to it, there's a, oh, woe is me to it. And so oftentimes some of our Black girls, because of I gotta fight so much, my harm don't look like you prescribed it to be. My harm can actually be come at me and I'm coming for you.
My 7th grade year, I only was in school for 65 days.
Kiara, whose family emigrated from Haiti to Miami, has been suspended from school multiple times since the 1st grade, primarily for fighting. Now in a court-ordered alternative school, Kiara's goal is to earn her high school diploma.
Nothing new happened today. Everything was peachy, okay, good? Okay.
A goal she hopes to achieve with help from the Soul Sisters Leadership Collective, which provides mentorship and offers workshops.
Again? Yes. So the first question I want to ask you is, what is the one thing that you're most proud of?
Myself.
Can you explain more?
I know how to control myself.
Give me an example.
This girl at school, she kept looking at me and rolling her eyes, and then I heard her telling the boys that she was gonna slap me because I thought I was all that. And I heard her and I didn't ask her who she was talking about. I just laughed.
I was known for fighting. They would be like, oh, there go Kiara Jean. She always fighting. She always in trouble. So I felt yes, I had a part to play, but then sometimes I should have been given at least be accounted for, yeah, it wasn't her fault, she didn't deserve that. Middle school, everybody have a boyfriend. Everybody wants to be so pretty. That's probably what led me into being more depressed and stuff, because I didn't feel pretty. I didn't really have boys hit on me like they hit on my friends. And when I'm going to school, I have to hear, oh, fat girl. So I became a crash dummy in some way because I wasn't fighting for myself. I mostly was fighting because I wanted to be loved. I wanted to be accepted. Because I know without fighting, what was I? Just that fat girl.
We stood here today for us, not for...
I got in this group called Soul Sisters. I was I like this because I like to talk. They don't say, oh, I curse too much. They don't say, I do too much, I'm too loud. They accepted me how I was. They didn't try to change me, but they helped me.
I am Black, I am beautiful, and I am proud. Just because I wear these shorts doesn't justify who I am. I am not just that Black girl. they didn't want to make me feel bad. So they said, let me show you a better way to do this. So it was like, I like this, Kiara. I don't want to be angry all the time. I'm doing something positive. Like, they like me this way, and I like myself this way. I'm not putting on a front to make anybody happy, and I got more applaud than more boos. So I was happy with this.
This is a young woman whose leadership hasn't been seen and recognized because of the body she's in and because of the way that she has to gird and protect herself because of her experiences with trauma. People aren't seeing the pain. People are seeing the challenging behavior. And so because of that, it's like a mask, it's a veil, it's covering up what's the leadership and the power that she has.
Mr. Cook, you want to approach and we can find out why you're by yourself today?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Our data is showing us that the majority of the children that are ending up in the juvenile justice system began as abuse, neglect, dependency cases. Okay, how old is she?
She's 13, she'll be 14 this year.
We know there's a higher number of assaults against Black girls. They're more likely to be trafficked. They're more likely to be molested. They're more likely to fall into so many different categories that affect their ability to learn. Okay, so we'll continue it out.
You push a girl out of school and you push her into the streets. You push her into violence, you push her into trauma, you push her into all types of experiences that are not positive experiences. And many times that will, out of desperation, out of need, they'll end up in the criminal justice system. Even if it's just the need to be desired, to be wanted, to be loved, and going into relationships and situations that might not be the best for them.
We wrote our report on the sexual abuse to prison pipeline to elevate such a critical issue for girls, and particularly girls of color, which is their criminalization for being victimized, even though they're the survivors that need to be supported, and it's the others who need to be held accountable.
I don't know how to feel. I don't want to be nervous, but I am. Who doesn't get nervous when they have an interview?
You want to practice?
Yep, let's do it. I ran away one night. I was gone for like a month, and I ended up getting involved, in a life.
Tariana describes herself as an outcast who struggled to find her way through the emotional maze of middle and high school.
I'm excited. So you're meeting with KI?
Although she now has a high school diploma, a year of community college, and is interviewing for a new job with the Young Women's Freedom Center in San Francisco, her high school years included an arrest, a short time in jail,
I wouldn't worry about it, no.
and like so many girls who are pushed out of school, a time in the life.
I was in high school. I met this friend. A lot of people didn't like her because she was already in a life, and that was something I couldn't understand at the time. So I was still her friend regardless, no matter what people said about her or how people thought about her. I just still wanted to be her friend because I know no matter what happened to me, I wouldn't want nobody to treat me less than or different. I used to see her with money, and I used to always wonder where she got it from. One day she finally explained to me. And I was like, wow, that's all you had to do? I really started skipping school after that night, just going out there, getting money, by myself. I really didn't understand how serious it was. I actually got caught up with a pimp for 3 days, but I knew it was so wrong. I just didn't want to be here no more. So I ended up going back home. I think I went to school for a day, and then I just left again. felt like my world around me was crashing, because that's all you hear every day is, we want you to graduate so you could do something with yourself. So how am I gonna do something with myself if I don't graduate? Now I just feel like everything is just over with. That's thrown out the window, you know?
An assistant district attorney connected Tariana with Emerge. Their mission is to repair the relationship between girls and their education after incarceration, chronic suspensions, truancy, or a period of confinement. Emerge also provided support for Tariana in her efforts to get a job.
They gave me support that didn't nobody else want to give me, I know that much. They cared more than I felt like anybody else cared. You know, they turned into my family. I felt like that was my home. You can come back from whatever you messed up from, and that's something that I really learned from them.
Like a hug. I ain't seen you in a couple of days. We've been in Sacramento.
Tariana was hired and is now putting her life experience to good use, helping other girls find their footing.
Everybody's not born on the same playing field. That's what I tell myself. So I don't judge nobody about what they might have right now, what they don't have later. You know, not the same for everybody. It's a different story. So show as much love as you can and just treat everybody how you want to be treated.
The problem becomes if the reaction is to control them, to somehow think that the way to make them feel safer is to show them who's the boss or set limits in a more rigorous way with punishment, then that can evoke the opposite because it feels unfair and it's a threat to what they want, which is autonomy. They want to find their own path.
But I like that you said making amends.
Yes.
Like how many teachers have that concept in their mind?
Like I said, we're humans. Like we have our own stress and emotions as well. If my tone towards them or the consequence that I deliver does not match their action, I make sure that I own up to it.
They are the schools that are taking the time to say, we don't want to do business as usual as it reinforces a status quo of inequality and victimization.
We're changing the mindset. Disruption and insubordination, what does that mean? And how do we define it? Not only with the student, but as the teacher. So am I insubordinate because I don't agree with your opinion? I don't like how you said it? Or is it truly insubordination, like I'm refusing to do something that's gonna impact my own success? So if it's something that the student is anxious and they feel like they need to walk out of class, then we try to work with them and develop a plan that they're allowed to go to a safe space. So whether that's, do you need to listen to calming music, you can get online and watch a girl empowerment video. And then what that does is that trains our girls to de-escalate, and then they come back and they say, I'm ready to go back to class, and they're fine. So when typically walking out of class would be an infraction that would give them an after-school detention or a suspension, now they come and they figure out how to solve their own challenges or reach out with an adult and come up with a plan that helps them manage their emotions.
What does trauma do to us? What's the impact that it has on us? Go.
When people do trainings with Black girls, they need to start from a place of loving Black girls and seeing their full potential, even beyond what the Black girls have imagined or brought up. If you can't start from that place, then you need to be honest with yourself around what it is that you feel about Black girls. And that doesn't matter who you are. You could be a Black woman yourself. It doesn't mean you have to wait to be perfect, but you have to recognize where you stand and where you are with that.
What are other things that people do to cope with the stuff that we've been through?
Like, stop dwelling on your past. You can't change the past, so just like moving on.
It's their intention to be supportive adults. It's their intention to help young people. That's what they would say about themselves.
What was her name?
Georgie.
And what would you want to say about this?
Because like some people, like me, I lost somebody that was close to them, but like they really love.
So it would be important to show that if you lose somebody, you can still stay close to them, or is it?
But because they're carrying around these different tropes and ideas about Black girls and their attitudes, and Black girls and their anger, and Black girls and their sexuality, and all of these things that they're carrying around in their minds, they're not able to see that actually this is just a hurt little girl. And what she really just needs is someone to sit with her and tell her, you're okay, and we got you.
That's lovely. What would you want those loved ones to be saying?
I'm fine.
I'm fine. Mm-hmm. You okay? Can I hold you? Can I hug you? Okay.
Once they can do that, all of the veil and the self-protection that she's carrying for good reason, she'll drop it and she'll be able to relate with them in the way that they're really seeking.
I think the path forward actually begins with public accountability in our own communities. Our girls are also vulnerable. They should not have to wait for trickle-down interventions, concerns after we get the boys straight. So intersectionality was useful to, first of all, identify that there was this gap. Even though you think you're doing racial justice work, if you're not talking about girls and femmes, you're not doing racial justice work. If you say you're doing, gender justice work and you're not looking at what's happening to girls in environments that are outside the traditional sort of middle class environment, you're not really doing gender justice work.
My name is Hansel, and this is Gretel. Hello.
We have a really hard time in the society talking about oppression, and we really don't teach it in schools. And so what we have are young people having conversations about fairness, or we have young people observing disparity, or we have young people engaging in their own observations of power dynamics that they feel harm them without real outlets for them to participate in healing or revisiting some of those things. The social movements that are happening, the young people, led movements that are moving out across the country, I think are examples of folks trying to shift that narrative.
Good morning. I love you so much. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Flora. Good morning, Brittany. Good morning.
The fact that young people want to have places where they learn that are not under surveillance shouldn't be that radical. When we talk about girls saying that they just want to go to class and not have their bodies touched in inappropriate ways, that shouldn't be that radical. It shouldn't be that radical for them to request materials in classrooms and learn a curriculum that reflects them in the material. Shouldn't be that radical. Shouldn't be that radical to expect your teacher to care about you and to demonstrate that by not responding to every action you make as an affront to their authority. Shouldn't be that radical. Shouldn't be that radical to say we need counselors, we need restorative practices that build out a full continuum of responses before you think to remove this kid or to try to take a more severe action, because you believe fundamentally that the relationships that are built in a school are what create the climate of safety. It shouldn't be that radical. And there are schools that are seeing it that way. So that's why I say it shouldn't be that radical. The question is whether we make this structure available to all children, or if we believe that certain children need surveillance and policing and punitive responses and a particular narrative around their education, and other kids get to explore who they are.
We're rising up. Black lives matter worldwide through the end of time.
Treat a Black girl the same way you would want to be treated, because you don't know what she's going through.
We're rising up. White supremacy, your throne's about to topple.
You don't have to have whatever happened to you
or whatever is happening to you be your story. You don't have to let your experiences take you down. Just keep on pushing because it's really gonna get better.
If you ain't never been through something, how can you feel it? So they would want somebody that has been through their circumstance personally so they can know that they're not in it alone.
This is probably the only school where I've actually became really close with the staff and the administration. Makes me really grateful about that.
Resistance is a natural response. How you gonna tell me that we ain't bound for freedom? Man, you can't trick us.
Trust your kids. That's the main thing. Let them grow up and learn their wrongs and their rights. Just let them know that you're there for them. You're gonna always support them. And that's it. You just gotta love them and support them. That's all they really need, is love and support.
Black girls, you are sacred and loved.
Black people are powerful beyond measure, beautiful beyond imagination. The children of cosmic dust wrapped in enigma made flesh. Black people are supernatural, drum magic and time travel. Black people are rising. Black people are significant, magnificent, omnipresent, resilient, immeasurable, unstoppable, indispensable, brilliant. Black people are eternal, ancient ancestors of the entire planet. Black people are breathtaking, the creators of this nation, the cornerstone of liberation. Black people are genius. Black people are people on a mission to get free by any means necessary. Black people are my heart, my soul, my breath. Black people are the source. Black people are a gorgeous.
Pushout, the criminalization of black girls in schools, is made possible by the Novo Foundation, the Ford Foundation Just Films, and the Meadow Fund. Additional support by the following.